Welcome into another edition of the Green and Growing Podcast. Steve Sparky Fifer with you from 12:50 a.m. The Fan. Of course, catch me weekdays, Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 until 5. You can also check out the Potawatomi Sportsbook Pro Hoops post-game show after each and every Bucks game on 12:50 a.m. The Fan. Take your calls, hear the post-game pressers, all that fun stuff. Nathan Marzion here as always. Follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. I'm pretty sure turn it into a drinking game on the Wisconsin Sports Daily. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Marzion's name at least 2 or 3 times a show at this point while doing the show. So while Marzion is not on the show on Wisconsin Sports Daily, his name is mentioned quite a bit during the show on things that he says on this very podcast, Green and Growing Podcast. So if you want to know what I'm referencing to all the time, you listen to this podcast and then you'll know, and you can be like, oh, yeah, I remember when he said that to Sparky. Okay, Bucks get a huge Game 1 victory. Marzion, you were at the game, I believe. Lillard talked about the atmosphere of the game and just how special it was, something he said he'd never really been a part of before as far as the energy in the building. You've been to championship games in that building. So how did that compare?
I mean, that first half was just crazy with the way it happened. You know, I don't think it was naturally going to be a little extra juiced up when you saw what Dame was doing and when he was just going off the way he was. Like, that added so much juice to it. If it was a normal, it was definitely juiced up, but if it had happened a different way and they had just built a 20-point lead, but, one guy wasn't going off the way he was, it might have been not quite as electric. But the way it happened, it definitely added to the electricity and made that place, absolutely rocking for that first half. And then the second half, I mean, there wasn't a ton that, the game was basically out of reach for most of the second half. And, it just was a little bit more of a boring second half. So there wasn't a ton of juice in the second half, but it was still just a great playoff atmosphere. I was very pleased with it because I didn't know what to expect. I was hoping that we would get a good crowd. I was hoping that people would be into it. And, but I just think that we got to have this going forward. We got to, tomorrow, another big game. Like, I don't want people to, treat these like regular season games at all. It's like maybe back in the day, when we were the 1 seed going against the 8 seed that had no chance, like the Pistons series in 2018, where, okay, yeah, you're heavy favorites in that series. You can get away with having a little bit of a mediocre crowd in the first round and you're still going to beat that team anyways. But like, this is, I mean, again, we're likely not going to have Giannis. This is a tough Pacers team. Like, we need a good crowd. We need every advantage we can get to get this playoff run going. So it was good. I want to see it continue.
After the game was over, doing the post-game show, got a bunch of calls. And then I saw some tweets from Bucks fans locally. This is not national people tweeting about this, right? I'm saying local Bucks fans that were showing concern that Lillard didn't score in that second half of that game once they started running some doubles and stuff at Lillard. The fact that he didn't score and concern that maybe Carlisle figured out how to stop Damian Lillard kind of going forward in this series. I'm not one of those people. How about you?
I'm sorry, I blanked out. Can you say that again? I was texting someone. Sorry.
Yes, it's fine. After the game was done on Twitter, Damian Lillard was the topic du jour from some Bucks fans, saying they're concerned he didn't score in the second half. Maybe Carlisle figured it out, so forth. I'm not concerned about this at all. It was an adjustment made. The game was out of reach, like you said. Lillard was just giving up the ball to whoever was open and making the right decision and not trying to force the issue, which was the smart play. Middleton was making shots. Others were making shots. So I'm not concerned going into the next game that all of a sudden Lillard can't score.
Yeah. The second half overall is just when you have a big 27-point lead at halftime, the second half is going to be a hard half to really judge on either side of the ball, because, offensively with the way Dame was shooting, they're going to completely change their game plan against him and take him away, sending doubles, sending triples, doing whatever it takes, and it opened things up for Chris, which, I like that Chris stepped up. And then defensively, Bucks get a little lackadaisical naturally. It wasn't like it was terrible or anything, but naturally you're going to let up just a little bit when you're up 27 points in the second half. So both sides of the ball, I think, are ones where I'm like, I don't take too much out of the second half. And yeah, with Dame, like, he only shot 5 times. He didn't need to shoot more than that. And even, I mean, the one time where the game did get kind of close was at the end of the third quarter, it was 12. And so that was the one time where you're like, okay, now we actually do need some scoring again. but then he was out of the game. And by the time he came back in the game, they were up more than 20 again. So he once again didn't need to do much. Like the times where Dame was in the game, it was very rare that he was in the game where it was, a less than 17-point lead, so it was just a situation where he didn't need to force it. He didn't need to try to keep putting on some huge show. It was like, just be smart, take care of the ball, make some good passes, open things up for some other guys, and they got some open looks in that third quarter, even though they only scored 14 points. They missed several open threes where it's not like their offense was completely taken away and they looked like they couldn't get any shots off. Like I said, Chris played well. AJ Green missed some wide open threes. Bobby missed a couple wide open threes. It's just like, it naturally took them out of rhythm a little bit, but I'm not worried about it going forward. I still think that Dame's Dame's been double teamed most of his career. This is what he's used to. This isn't anything that he can't handle. And I think the Bucks now having some time to prepare for that too is going to be helpful. So I think he will be fine, and I think Dame's going to be fine going forward.
Let's talk a little bit about other guys on this team besides Damian Lillard. I think Chris Middleton played as well as you could expect Chris Middleton to play in that game, and that is the reason why Lillard didn't have to be a guy scoring a bunch of points in the second half. Middleton had it under control. Other guys stepped up too, but even at the beginning of the game, both these teams looked horrible. Middleton makes the first basket for the Bucks there, makes another big basket later to start off the fourth quarter. After they got it to 12, he gets a big 3-point shot to open up the fourth quarter. He's just such a key player for this team. And if and when Giannis comes back as that guy, he's going to be your third scorer behind Giannis and Holiday. When they won the championship, he was 2.
Dame,
now he's going to be 3.
You said Holiday instead of Dame.
Oh, sorry. No, when they won the championship, it was Holiday, Giannis, and Middleton was the 2 scorer.
Yeah, I know, but you said he's going to be their third scorer behind Giannis and Holiday.
Oh, sorry. No, clearly I didn't mean that. No. So yeah, Giannis, Dame, Middleton. When they won the championship, it was Giannis, Middleton, Holiday. So to think he's going to be your third scorer if Giannis and Lillard are right. Now, again, we don't know what Giannis is going to look like when he comes back. We have no idea. So this is with the assumption that he looks healthy and correct, unlike Embiid, that Middleton then is your third scorer. This team is very dangerous if all 3 guys are healthy and playing well.
Yeah, Chris had a basically perfect game for what his role is and for what he's asked to do. It's like he let Dame do his thing and absolutely go off in the first half. And that's what I love about Chris is he's never been a guy. This is the same with whenever Giannis has been on the court and through all these years, he does not need the ball. He's not someone that I got to get my shots up and I need some of the spotlight. It's like when Giannis is going off, he is more than happy to just let Giannis do his thing. When Dame's going off, he is more than happy to you got this. But he'll still give you some buckets here and there. He'll still give you some ball handling and some playmaking a little bit. But then when they needed it in the second half, when things opened up for him by the after they started defending Dame differently and you really needed him to step up and hit some buckets, he did. And that's exactly what you are asking Chris to do basically. And it's a good position to have Chris in at this point in his career. I said this kind of at the beginning of the year. I was like, I don't think you want to be in a position where with Chris at his age, with his, injury history and everything, I still think he's a very good player. I still think he's going to be a near 20-point per game guy in the playoffs. But I don't want to be in a position where I'm relying on Chris Middleton every night to give me 20 to 25 points like they were in 2021 when, he was in his prime and he could do that in the finals. He averaged 24 or whatever. But it was are we comfortable letting him or comfortable having him in that position where we still need that from him 3 years later, a couple injuries later, and them getting Dame really just takes that pressure off of him where he's going to have games where he only needs to put up 12 or 14 points and Giannis and Dame pick up the slack. Now, obviously when Giannis is out, yeah, these are the games you need Chris to be more in that 20 to 25 range, but this is what we used to need him to do every single night pretty much in the playoffs and sometimes even higher. There were games he needed to score 30, 35 in order for us to win games. So I just think we're in a good position where Chris can just be that guy that he doesn't need to be great every game, but be great in certain moments of the game when he needs to be. And just every few games have a 20 to 25 point per game or 20 to 25 point night. And we're going to be in good shape, when these guys are healthy. So it was just great to see him really be efficient, taking smart shots, getting to his spots. He just looks good. And it's also something that I think people underrate how good he's been in the playoffs. even last year they lost in the first round, but he averaged 24, 5-5, good efficiency. Like he was really good. He was one of the lone bright spots for us last year, despite the loss. And so he's just a reliable playoff guy. Like he's going to have his bad games as any player does, but he's someone that I trust to put up again around 25-5 pretty much, in any playoff stretch. Like I trust him to be that reliable third option now, which is just a great position to have him in.
It is the Green and Rolling Podcast here. Make sure to download it on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well, where we live stream this bad boy from time to time. I am Steve Sparky Fifer. Check me out on the Potawatomi Sportsbook Pro Hoops post-game show, served up by Wendy's after Bucks games or during the week, doing the afternoon show on 1250 called Wisconsin Sports Daily from 2 to 5 p.m. He is Nathan Marzion. Tyrese Halliburton was a guy that I thought would be better. He looked timid, not aggressive, checked out. I don't know. Come up with whatever you want, but he did not look like the same player, Nathan, we saw earlier in the year when he was running his mouth, tapping his wrists, and everything else.
Yeah, and this was something I kind of touched on a little bit before the series. Was like that's something not a lot of people know. Was the second half of the year he hasn't been the same. Now he usually hasn't been this bad, and this of much of a non-factor in the game. But like still, he went from averaging like 23 points, 12 assists, shooting 40% from three, to being a 15 points, 9 assists, 32% from three guy the second half of the year after he had a hamstring injury. And like he just hasn't been, he hasn't been controlling the game as much. He hasn't been, again, a focal point of the game as much as he was. Like the first half of the year, it was like you'd watch games and it was just he stood out as like this guy is running the show. He's doing everything. He is like the arguably the best player on the court in almost any game he was playing in. And that just hasn't been the case in the second half. And that's why I wasn't too scared of him. As obviously he's a good player. He's still going to have some good games in this series, I'm assuming, and he's going to not be this bad throughout the whole series. But I'm just not. I wasn't as concerned as I would have been at the beginning of the year in a series against him with just how well he was playing before. I was like, I'm not as worried that we're going to have to deal with 30 points and 13 assists from Tyrese Halliburton every game. I think it'll be closer to, again, 15 to 20 points and 8 or 9 assists. But yeah, I mean, it just did not look like there was just several stretches where I'm like, I almost forgot he was on the court, and it was like he hasn't done anything. I think he only had 7 total shot attempts, but I think a few of those even came like pretty late when the game was out of reach. So he only really had 4 or 5 like true shot attempts that were meaningful. And so yeah, just a weird game from him. And if he continues to look like that, I mean, the Bucks' chances in the series go drastically higher, because it's just I don't know where else their offense is gonna come from besides really Siakam. Like I don't know if those other guys on that team are capable of really rising up another level to make up for Halliburton not doing much. Siakam had a good game, but and then even when you get Giannis back, he'll defend Siakam, and that'll limit that. So if he's not able to, if he looks closer to this than he does what he was at the beginning of the year for this whole series, it'll be. I really don't see a way the Bucks lose this series, to be honest.
Was that scheme oriented or was that Pat Bev oriented as far as how he got taken out of the game in your mind?
I thought it was more on the like Pat Bev. I thought it was more on. I mean, obviously the scheme as well, with not letting them get out in transition, not letting them run, not letting him dictate the tempo. But that also just happens naturally in the playoffs. So to me, it was more. I thought Pat Bev did a really good job. I thought they didn't let him just get like there were just several times in those regular season games where it felt like he just blew by guys. And again, some of this is injury related, but some of it also is, we now have a couple guys, or a guy at least, that can stay in front of him at least a little bit. So yeah, I think Pat Bev did a great job, and he just on both ends I thought was very impactful. He had 8 assists. He was all over the place defensively. He was diving on the floor for loose balls. Like it was a perfect Pat Bev game for what you need him for. So I'll give him a lot of credit for what he did to kind of slow down Halliburton.
All right, take a quick time out, come back. Talk about this players poll in The Athletic that had Marzion all fired up earlier today on Twitter. We'll get to that next. Download the Green and Rolling Podcast on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast ad, or of course, you can also check us on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Back after this. Welcome back, Green and Growing. Steve Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan, along with Nathan Marzion. Follow him at Nathan Marzion on Twitter. You can follow me at Sparky Radio. Let's talk about this players poll in The Athletic, Nathan. I saw a tweet earlier today, and we actually did it as a topic on Wisconsin Sports Daily, thanks to you, on the afternoon show today. You were being very fired up about one certain poll question on The Athletic, talking about, all right, NBA players, anonymous NBA players, like about, I think there was like 132 to 141 guys that responded to different questions. First player you want to sign to start a brand new team, who are you building around? And obviously, Wembanyama is one. Okay. Joker is two. Okay, fine. But Nathan Marzion, the fact that Giannis was at the same level as Paolo Banchero for the Orlando Magic was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no way to me Giannis should be any lower than third. As you said, I understand Victor Wembanyama. I understand Jokic, because you can say, well, Jokic is, they're the same age. If you want to say Jokic is a little bit better, I understand that. Obviously, we know the potential of Wembanyama, but I don't know who else you put above him after that. The closest one to me would be Luka, but even in that case, it's like, okay, but I know Luka's younger, but like Giannis has proven Giannis has done this in the playoffs. Giannis has done this at the highest stage. Giannis has done everything needed. He's won 2 MVPs. Like, he has done everything needed to prove he's that guy. Whereas Luka's great and he's a very good player, but it's like, has he proven that to you yet? That like, okay, I'm taking Luka and my team is going to be a perennial title contender. Like, we haven't seen that. So I don't even know how you can put Luka on there. To me, it's Wemby, Jokic, Giannis, and I mean, I don't even know who else I would ever even vote for. But to have Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, and LeBron James over Giannis is like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, because I was like, there's no, like, is that right? Like, is they really have LeBron and Joel Embiid over Giannis for you're picking a team? But it also tells you why players aren't GMs. They do this kind of poll, I think, with GMs at the beginning of every year. And pretty consistently when they ask this type of question, I know Giannis is in the top, 2 or 3. So it kind of shows you the difference there. The players kind of just, LeBron James,
Nathan,
Tatum,
Jared Allen received a vote.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was him voting for himself. That's all I could come up with. I don't know
Scoot
who else would vote to start a thing around Jared Allen.
Yeah, Scoot Henderson got a vote too. But like I don't even know how, like, to me, it's crazy that LeBron got a vote. I know he's LeBron, but like, you're taking a 30, I don't even remember how old he is now, 38-year-old. Yeah. It's like, you're taking a 38-year-old dude with your first pick if you're starting a team from scratch. Like, that's insane. So yeah, I take it with a grain of salt, because I know the players, obviously they know the game, but I don't know if they know, they don't know roster construction. They don't know GM type of stuff. And but I do think it speaks to, I think, Giannis is a little disrespected by players, and Giannis
a little. He's in others receiving consideration for best defender in the league, and others considering there's like 10 dudes in front of him, and then he's put in there with Pat Beverly as others receiving consideration. Are you kidding? And then look at the MVP voting. No. This is beyond disrespectful. It's at a whole different level. I want to off about this on Wisconsin Sports Daily. I'm going to go off about it here. It's ridiculous. And I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what he did to irritate guys, or why they don't like him, or why they don't think he's very good, or whatever the case may be. But clearly there is a huge amount of disrespect towards him. I said it on Wisconsin Sports Daily, Nathan. If this is Kobe Bryant getting disrespected like this, that dude is printing this out, putting it up on his locker, and every night he goes out, he's going to kill everybody to prove a point. And he's going to continue to bring that damn poll up. If I was the Bucks, I'd print that out and leave it at Giannis' locker. Here you go. There you go. Use that to feed your fuel in the playoffs here. Dude, look at how you're in others receiving consideration for best defender in the league, Giannis. What the hell is that? Like, oh my God. If I was Giannis, I would just lose my mind. Okay, so everybody in the league doesn't think I'm very good. Cool. That'll give me inspiration to work harder and really kill all y'all. I mean, it's beyond. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm so bad by that poll. It's absolutely stupid.
I think it's a combination of guys being bitter that he doesn't, obviously there's plenty of guys in the league that are in air quotes more skilled than Giannis by just like they have the jumper, they have the ball handling and all that crap. But and there's guys that are just bitter that like this dude is so dominant, this dude is so good without having that. And so I
So
think
was
that guy's
Shaq.
just what?
So was Shaq. Shaq didn't
Yeah,
have a jump shot. Shaq didn't have any
I
of
know.
that.
I know, but I'm just saying I think maybe guys in the league are just bitter about that, and I think that they kind of disrespect him because of that. They think, oh, whatever, he's good, but there's other guys that are more skilled. Tatum's like a flashier type of player. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka, those guys. So he doesn't. And Anthony Edwards, like, there's no other reason to put those guys above him besides that. It's like when you actually just look at what they do on the court, Giannis is head and shoulders above all those guys right now. So it's a combination of that. Plus, Giannis just isn't buddy with these guys in the league. He's never been that way, and I'm glad he's not that way. But it's like he just doesn't have a ton of. He has some guys he gets along with and everything, but he doesn't have a ton of like close friends in the league or really many at all. And that does affect this type of stuff. Like guys, just you're thinking about, okay, who would I draft? Your mind kind of goes to the guys you like, the guys you have a friendship with that you might want to play with, and like I'm sure some of these guys have that more than Giannis does, and that probably affects it too. I just think there's stuff that goes into this that it's like these guys just don't have the respect for Giannis that they should because of some of these dumb factors. But again, to me, I like I'm not mad at it. I'm more just like this is like I laugh at it. It's stupid. I can't believe that he's only at 2%, but it makes me go, hey, it makes it that much sweeter when he dominates. It makes it that much sweeter when to know that he like again when he did that in the finals, it's like they all had to sit there and watch him put up 50 to go win a title. Like deal with that, and they're gonna have to deal with it again when he's gonna do it at I don't know if it'll be this year, but sometime in the near future, we're gonna be back and he's gonna be doing the same thing on the same stage, and people are just gonna these players are gonna have to just deal with Giannis is on the top again, and he's the best player in the world. So I'm looking forward to him proving them wrong again.
How much did you see Damian Lillard in those polls?
Not much, but there's not a ton of. I don't
Not
think
at
there were a ton
all.
of questions. There weren't a ton of questions that really related to him, though.
Well, no, but I mean, if Giannis is getting slighted because he's playing with Lillard now, that's why he's not in MVP voting. That's ridiculous because Giannis is putting up historic numbers, number one. Number two, as we've talked about plenty of times on this damn thing, he had to go through a coaching change. He was coaching to the team for half the year, apparently, in order to get to the 2 seed. Everything he's been through, a coach walking out prior to training camp and everything else, he still put up gigantic numbers. They were the 2 seed of the Eastern Conference up until the last game when Orlando beat them, and they fell to the 3. Like, I don't know how much more you could ask a player to do on this basketball team than what Giannis did. Like, I don't understand what more could be asked. Like, I would love to go ask one of those guys, do you think you could have done better than Giannis on this Bucks team? Who of all of you thinks you could have done better? I'd like to hear the answer to that. Who would have put up better numbers than Giannis and been able to coach the team and everything else like he did? Stupid.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say like who of you thinks you could do better. I'd be like, what one player in the league could do better? Like, give me one player that you would have put in Giannis's position that would be putting up 30 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists on 62% from the field. Yeah, I mean, again, this stuff, there's no explanation for it. Again, like there's no logical explanation for it, I should say. And that's why, again, I don't get mad at it. I don't get like, it's just annoying to see it, but it's something that, again, I look forward to Giannis, shutting them up again. And it does give me joy to know that like players are really upset most of the time. Most of them, it seems like players are upset seeing Giannis succeed and players are upset seeing Giannis dominate. And it's like, again, it makes it that much more fun to see him do it because it's like, deal with it. If you don't like it, stop it. And you can't. There's nothing you can do. So, yeah, bulletin board material and just something that I think we'll be laughing at even more in the coming months / years, where I think the Bucks are gonna go on another run here and possibly win another title at some point. So we can look back and laugh at the 2% of people saying that they would pick Giannis.
Steve Sparky, Fifer, Nathan Marzion, Great and Growing Podcast. Download it wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Obviously, on the Odyssey app is the priority. Also, could check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Quick timeout, come back. Let's see what Nathan Marzion thinks are the keys to game number 2 between the Bucks and Pacers coming up on Tuesday night. What has to happen for the Bucks to win game 2 at Fiserv Forum? That's straight ahead. Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan, host of the Potawatomi Sportsbook Pro Hoops postgame show, served up by Wendy's after each and every Milwaukee Bucks game. The game gets done. You turn on 1250 AM The Fan, pick up your phone, dial on in. We talk about the Bucks game after the game. Last game, we had Doc Rivers press replayed after the game. Damian Lillard took a bunch of calls, read a bunch of tweets. Always a fun time. Look forward to seeing and hearing from you coming up on Tuesday night. You can hear the weekday afternoon show that I got going on right now as well. Wisconsin Sports Daily, 2 to 5 in the afternoon. Monday through Friday on 1250 AM The Fan, or stream us on your Odyssey app. He is Nathan Marzion. Time now for keys to the game in game 2. Bucks Pacers, Fiserv Forum, Tuesday night. What say you, Nathan Marzion?
Well, obviously, I think the main thing everyone's talking about is, okay, how do you adjust to the, what Indiana is likely going to do defensively to Dame now, where they're probably going to throw multiple guys at him. They're probably going to really make it tough on him to beat them. Doesn't mean he's not going to score. Like, it doesn't mean he's not going to get shots up, but it'll probably be harder for him to go nuclear or really, have a huge scoring night. So naturally, okay, who's going to step up? What type of actions are you going to be possibly running to get Chris looks or to get Brooke looks? Are you going to use Brooke? Again, we've talked about this on the podcast several times, where are you going to try to use Brooke down low more rather than always having him out on the perimeter? Yep. I think that's something they still could do more, where they do have a size advantage with him out there. And, the Pacers have not been good protecting the rim. So I think using him down low more is a way you could, use him more as a scorer. Because I think you might need that with Dame possibly being not shut down, but I think just limited a little bit by the defense. So ultimately, though, the big X factor I think in this game likely will be Chris, where he's going to probably get more looks throughout the game than he got last game, or at least in the first half. He didn't get many in the first half, but I think he'll be from start to finish getting looks and having the opportunity to put up some good numbers. So hit those shots and get into his spots. And we should be in okay shape. And the other guy would be Bobby, where Bobby had he had 15, I think, in game 1, which was fine. He didn't force things too much. He didn't take a ton of shots, or he took like 15, but he didn't take a crazy amount of shots. But he's going to be another guy that he's going to get looks. And, you could see him. He's had a couple games this year, especially at home, where he's getting more looks than usual. And he really starts to go off a little bit. Like, I think of that Boston game where we blew them out and he had, I want to say it was like 30 something points, 31 points. There's a chance he could have the opportunity to do that again, where he's the one that's the beneficiary of a lot of these looks as a result of Dame, the attention he's going to be generating. So Bobby and Chris are probably going to be relied on a little bit even more for scoring. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do. And then the main thing defensively just continues to be getting back, not letting them push it in transition. I thought they did a really good job of that in game 1, of making sure that after a made basket, after a miss, whatever it is, like, they're getting back, they're not screwing around, they're not getting lazy. And it really prevented a lot of transition buckets from the Pacers. So that's been the main thing defensively, is just making sure that you're not letting them get out in transition.
I just think the main thing is, if you take Halliburton away, they don't have enough offense. Like you said it earlier in the podcast, if you take Halliburton out of this next game again, and you hold Halliburton to 15 or less points in this game, you're going to win the game. Like, I feel fairly confident you're going to win the game, unless Lillard goes like 2 for 15 or something. I mean, you should win, because Miles Turner shouldn't score 30 on you or anybody else. I mean, who else is going to score if it's not Siakam?
It's hard to predict with Halliburton right now, because I don't know how much of it was like the Bucks, forcing him to have a bad game, or how much of it was him just being out of it, him just not being aggressive, him doing it to himself a little bit. And I mean, again, there's a chance he's just very limited right now, and he's gonna look the same. But I don't know. It's just like I don't know if I'm gonna go in expecting him to look exactly like that, and him to them once again to hold him to 9 points or whatever it was. because I think some of it was he just wasn't very aggressive. And I think if he plays more aggressive, if he's looking for a shot a little bit more, trying to penetrate a little bit more, he could have a much better game. So yeah, but I mean, again, obviously, yeah, if like I said before, if you're getting that Halliburton or anything close to that Halliburton for this series, like it's gonna be I don't see the Bucks losing the series because, like you said, there's just not the scoring to go around. I don't think Siakam will get his when Giannis is out. He'll have an opportunity to score, but like Miles Turner's not a guy that you can really rely on to get put up big numbers, and none of those other guys on that team are either. Where you just don't expect them to put up 20 something points usually. So yeah, if Halliburton's playing like that, the Bucks are going to be in pretty good shape to go up 2-0 and to really control this series. So we'll see.
That'll be another edition of Green and Growing in the books. Make sure to tell your friends, tell your family members, download it on your Odyssey app or if you download your favorite podcast. And always check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Toodles.